So we've been talking nonstop about this MOU and the implications of it, and a lot of people are upset about it. There's a lot of criticism being thrown around at the Trump administration, especially from the pro-Israel community. But what I want to share in this video is reactions from Lebanon, from the Lebanese community specifically, but also maybe we'll throw in a couple of other reactions from the Arab world. But I want to mainly focus on reactions to this coming out of Lebanon, because Lebanon is mentioned in this agreement, both in the original MOU in clause 1 of the 14, as well as in the memo that was issued by Pakistan and Qatar, giving the conclusions, the whatever was agreed upon in the talks that took place in Geneva or Lucerne or wherever they took place. So let's just sum up what happened with Lebanon. So in the memorandum of understanding, the original one, in clause 1, it said that what has to happen there is that there has to be a cessation of hostilities in Lebanon. Okay, and what they mean by that is between Israel and Hezbollah. But then in the memo that was issued at the end of these talks, it says as follows. It says that Iran and the United States are going to set up a deconfliction cell with Lebanon to de-escalate things, to have like dialogue, so that things don't escalate. Here's the exact text in that memo. It says the parties, which means the US and Iran, agreed on the creation of a deconfliction cell between the parties and the Lebanese government, and the Lebanese Republic, and facilitated by the mediators, Pakistan and Qatar, to ensure the adherence of the termination of military operations in Lebanon. Okay, so this obviously gives the Iranians a foothold, a say. They're a player at the table for de-escalation issues in Lebanon. Okay, so there's been reaction in Lebanon to this MOU, and lo and behold, Lebanese people are not so happy about it. Let's take a look. Okay, so here we'll start with this, and I'm going to tell you, we're talking about very senior people. Samir Geagea is the leader of the Lebanese Forces Party. The Lebanese Forces Party is the largest political party in the Lebanese parliament. So we're not talking about a marginal figure. We're talking about a very significant political figure. Lebanese Forces Party is a Christian party. They have 19 seats in the Lebanese parliament. Again, the largest party in Lebanon. And let's see what he has to say here. His Excellency, the Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Mr. J.D. Vance, warm greetings and thereafter. I have reviewed with interest and appreciation your statement in which you expressed your friendship and concern for the Christians of Lebanon. As the president of the Lebanese Forces Party, the largest Christian party in Lebanon, I saw fit to address you with this letter to express my deepest gratitude for your words and for what they reflect of genuine friendship and profound concern for the Christians of Lebanon. Because J.D. Vance had said something in an interview on Fox News about how we love the Christians of Lebanon and they should hold fast to their faith in Jesus, and we're going to try to bring peace. It was all like platitudes about the Christians of Lebanon. So he wants to express it. He says, I want to express my deepest gratitude for your words and what they reflect of genuine friendship and profound concern for the Christians of Lebanon, and by extension for all Lebanese people. Lebanese Christians have throughout modern Lebanese history and will continue to constitute an element of stability, openness, moderation, and cultural and civilizational prosperity in this East. Lebanon has distinguished itself thanks to its pluralism, public freedoms, open system, and cultural and economic role, with a unique status that has made it a space of radiance in a turbulent environment. It is true that the past 4 decades have been among the most difficult stages experienced by the Lebanese in general, and Christians in particular, as a result of the establishment of Hezbollah as a military and security organization, which has usurped national decision-making, weakened legitimate institutions, prevented the establishment of an effective and capable state, and furthermore, embroiled Lebanon in conflicts and wars linked to Iranian agendas that do not represent the interests or aspirations of the Lebanese. This has had a negative impact on the Lebanese economy, reduced job opportunities, and driven large numbers of Lebanese, including a significant proportion of Christians, to emigrate in search of safety, stability, and opportunities for a dignified life. Nevertheless, the Christians who have faced throughout their long history, both ancient and modern, challenges and ordeals more severe than these, have always managed to overcome them, thanks to their attachment to their land, their faith in freedom, and their determination to remain in their homeland to preserve their national and civilizational identity. Today, as yesterday, they remain steadfast in their faith and convictions, resilient in the face of challenges, and determined, along with all other Lebanese, to restore their state, their institutions, and their full sovereignty, meaning to get away from Hezbollah, relying on support from their friends in the East and West, foremost among them the United States of America. In this context, we believe that the greatest contribution the United States of America can offer Lebanon at this delicate stage lies in supporting the Lebanese state and its legitimate institutions as the sole national reference, confining any negotiation or approach to the Lebanese file to the Lebanese state alone, and permanently removing Iran from the Lebanese file in a way that helps the Lebanese definitively reclaim their national decision-making and prevents any continuation of foreign interventions in their internal affairs. You understand what happened here? By allowing Iran, by literally agreeing with Iran, first of all, in the MOU, which was signed between the Iranians and the Americans, the fact that it says anything there about Lebanon, it doesn't even mention Hezbollah. It talks about Lebanon, but then even worse, this deconfliction cell, this mechanism for dialogue to deal with escalations and skirmishes and violations of ceasefires that take place between Hezbollah and Israel, that is supposed to be de-escalation in Lebanon, it gives the Iranians a seat at the table. Like the Americans are agreeing that the Iranians should be part of that conversation. And here is this very prominent Lebanese politician saying, excuse me, you keep talking about the importance of Lebanese sovereignty and Lebanese territorial integrity and how we need to give Lebanon back its independence. We can only do that if Iran has zero seat at the table. The state of Lebanon has to be able to make its own decisions. And the United States is ratifying, is agreeing that Iran should be part of those conversations. Furthermore, supporting the current Lebanese state in extending its full authority over all its territories, confining arms to the hands of legitimate institutions alone, and ending the military and security presence of Hezbollah constitutes, in our view, the greatest contribution that could be made to the Christians of Lebanon and to all Lebanese people, as it opens the door to building the state we all aspire to, an effective sovereign state that is free, strong, and capable of ensuring security, stability, and prosperity for all citizens. You understand? Ending the military and security presence of Hezbollah. And yet, J.D. Vance said, it'll be, if anyone fires a rocket, we'll have dialogue between the Israelis and the Iranians and Hezbollah and the Lebanese, and we'll all be talking. And telling Israel to back off and not to respond harshly and not to go on the offensive against Hezbollah because you want your MOU deal to go through is extending a lifeline to Hezbollah. That's what he's bringing up here. Allow me, in conclusion, to renew to you on my behalf and on behalf of a broad segment of the Lebanese people in general and Christians in particular who aspire to the establishment of an effective and capable state in their homeland, my deepest thanks and appreciation for the friendship and concern you have shown toward the Christians of Lebanon, hoping that the United States of America will remain a key partner in helping Lebanon reclaim its natural role as a model of freedom, pluralism, and peace in the Middle East. Please accept my utmost respect and appreciation, Samir Geagea, I don't know how to pronounce his name, president of the Lebanese Forces Party. Now, he was very polite, but he was pushing back on the MOU. Now, we're going to see some other reactions that aren't as polite. Here's another reaction. This is much shorter. And this is Samir Geagea. Also, I didn't just look on Twitter for random, cherry-picked statements. These are all prominent people. I just showed you the first one was the head of the largest party in the Iranian parliament. And this one, Samir Geagea, he is the leader of the Kataeb Party, another party in the Lebanese government, also a Christian party. Okay, he's also the leader of a party in the Lebanese government. He has seats in the Lebanese government. Very prominent person, Samir Geagea. Look what he writes here. We will not coexist with Hezbollah's weapon, no matter what the outcomes of the external negotiations may be. They must place themselves under the roof of the state and the law and adhere to the state's conditions. But most Lebanese are not prepared to live as hostages to Hezbollah. We will live in peace in our land, in safety, freedom, and dignity. We will not go back, and this will be the end of the sorrows. This is all in response to what's happening with this MOU. Understand that. The people, the Christians in Lebanon are furious with Hezbollah given legitimacy by these agreements. Peter Germanos. So Peter Germanos, a conservative Catholic, geopolitical analyst. He's a professor. He was also a judge. He was like one of the main. He was, I think, the chief justice of the military court in Lebanon. Okay, look what he writes. Dear Vice President J.D. Vance, I'm a Lebanese, and I will say plainly what many avoid to say publicly. Lebanese Christians do not ask for privilege. They do not ask for domination over others. They do not ask for revenge, partition, or permanent conflict. What they ask for is much simpler and much deeper: the right to survive, to remain rooted in their land, to educate their children, to preserve their faith and culture, and to live under a stable political order that does not leave them permanently exposed to demographic pressure, armed intimidation, economic collapse, and foreign-controlled militias. Since the creation of Greater Lebanon in 1920, the Christian presence in Lebanon has been reshaped by repeated shocks. The crisis of 1958, the Cairo Agreement of 1969, the Civil War beginning in 1975, foreign occupations, regional wars fought on Lebanese soil, the Taif Agreement in 1989, mass emigration, economic destruction after 2019, and the growing feeling that the Lebanese state can no longer guarantee equal citizenship or basic security. The central question is no longer theoretical, it's existential. What do Christians want? They want a state where the army alone carries the arms. They want a judiciary that's independent, not controlled by political parties or armed factions. They want their deposits, properties, schools, universities, churches, businesses, and municipalities protected by law. They want real decentralization, allowing communities to manage education, security, development, taxation, infrastructure, and public services without being held hostage by a paralyzed and corrupt central state. They want international guarantees that Lebanon will not again be handed over to Syria, Iran, Hezbollah, or any regional power claiming the right to decide its future. This is a direct pushback to President Trump saying, oh, I'm going to get the Syrians involved in fighting Hezbollah. And meanwhile, at the same time, telling Israel to back off on hitting Hezbollah and setting up a deconfliction cell that gives Iran a seat at the table to discuss, what's going to happen in Lebanon on an ongoing basis. Understand how enraged the Lebanese Christian community is. They're the ones more willing to, it's really more Lebanese than the Christians, but generally in the Muslim community, they're more afraid to speak out. They want a Lebanon where Muslims and Christians can live together freely, but not under the shadow of weapons, intimidation, democratic or ideological dominion. Many Lebanese still believe in coexistence. I'm going to skip a little bit here. It's a very long message. Lebanese are not asking America to fight their battles for them. They are asking America to stop legitimizing the structures that made their survival impossible. Boom. Stop. They're asking America to stop legitimizing the structures that made their survival impossible. Freedom, security, self-government, a Lebanon that is neutral, sovereign, decentralized, economically free. If the international community waits until the last family leaves, it will not be able to say it did not know. Look, he's trying to be polite. They're trying to be respectful. These are very prominent figures, leaders of two of the parties, one of them being the largest party in the country, very important figure in the legal community. And now we have Nadim Kotesh. He's a very prominent journalist. He was a former general manager of Sky News Arabia, a columnist for Sharq al-Aswat. He's written for the Wall Street Journal and the Spectator and more. And he's more blunt. He's more of a journalist. Take a look at what he says here. Washington handed Iran the keys, the deed, and the funds deposited in the treasury before even confirming that the Iranian check had been cashed. This is the deal that Trump signed, which I suggest reading according to the order of execution priorities, not based on flashy headlines. The 13th clause represents the key that decodes the agreement. That's the one that says what has to be done immediately: ceasefire, end of the naval blockade, freedom, opening up the Strait of Hormuz, lifting the sanctions on exporting their oil, and releasing frozen funds. I want to get to where he talks about Lebanon. As for Lebanon, because he's from Lebanon, the Memorandum of Understanding declares the war's end definitively. But the true closure of the front is referred to a future agreement that the two parties can postpone indefinitely. And the irony is that the two parties who actually fought, Israel and Hezbollah, signed nothing. Their guns fell silent, relatively speaking, because Washington and Tehran wanted it that way. And this calm will endure only as long as the latter's desire does. This agreement halts Hezbollah's war and even drops the justification for its fighting, but it leaves its weapons untouched, a situation Iran prefers perfectly, because the existence of an armed and silent Hezbollah gives her a power card she can reactivate in future bargaining rounds. Thus, the document puts an end to the war, preserved the militia, Hezbollah, and handed Lebanon a strong argument for disarmament without actually disarming it of anything. And finally, let's take a look at this Saudi writer, very prominent Saudi writer. Okay, that's him. And what does he write here? The most evident American improvisation in the agreement with Iran lies in the commitment to halt operations in Lebanon. At a time when Washington is pressuring the Lebanese government to work tirelessly toward disarming Hezbollah, right? So here's what the Americans are doing. They're pressuring the Lebanese government. They're saying, you have to work to disarm Hezbollah, under a demand backed by broad popular sectors, Christians, Sunnis, others, who are in favor of the Lebanese state. Trump wants, but simultaneously, he wants to stop operations in Lebanon. From whom? From a party that raises the banner of resistance and knows full well that its legitimacy is eroding if it fails to deliver on anything it promised its supporters while Israel fights in Lebanon under the pretext of security. Then Trump comes out and proposes Syrian intervention in Lebanon, ignoring Syria's exhausted reality after the revolution and its need for stability, development, and institution building, not entry into an additional military confrontation, while alluding to a historical reality from the 20th century when the Christians who oppose the party today were themselves the ones confronting Syrian intervention back then. So what synthesis does Trump propose amid these components to fulfill his pledge? It doesn't seem to go beyond his talk of turning Gaza into a tourist resort. Great final line. In other words, just like in the Trump 20-point plan, we're going to have a new Gaza and it's going to be a tourist resort, and it's all empty talk. None of it's ever going to happen. He's saying it's the same thing here. But look how upset they are about Lebanon. And this is a Saudi writer basically saying, look at what Trump is doing to Lebanon. They are, I'm telling you, the Arab world is appalled. And this is just a small taste of what's out there. In Arab media, there are editorials being written in all over the Arab world that are just horrified by how the Americans are handling the Lebanon situation. Here is Abdul Rahman al-Rashid. He's writing in Asharq al-Aswat. This is a Saudi outlet that's based in the UK, but it's a Saudi outlet. Abdul Rahman al-Rashid is the former general manager of Al Arabiya Television, former editor-in-chief of Asharq al-Aswat, which is the leading Arabic weekly. He's also the senior columnist at the daily newspapers, Al-Madina, Al-Bilad, a very prominent journalist. I'm not going to read this whole article, but he refers to this as a spectacular Iranian victory. The Vance-Galibaf agreement signed by Trump is preliminary, with a deadline of no less than 2 months before the final agreement is reached. And look what he says now. I'm going to jump down to a key piece here. This is what he says. The final conclusion is that lifting sanctions and allowing it to sell oil will provide it with about $200 billion annually, along with a financial fund for its reconstruction, which will ultimately grant it about $500 billion. This will make Iran a greater monster than it was before. And he says earlier up in here that there is no doubt that they are going to use this money not for helping their people, not for doing anything else, but for rebuilding their weapons. That is what they're going to do with the money. Most of the funds Tehran will acquire in the current and coming weeks are likely to go primarily towards strengthening the military regime's position, not to support living conditions or the Iranian economy. The Iranian leadership fears the possibility of a return to war against it, and its political doctrine considers Iran a military power, harnessing all its resources for this strategy. Folks, Trump can talk about this as this great deal that's going to lead to peace, and Vance can talk about how, we've made a lot of progress and we're going to have this fund and it's going to be funded by the regional partners. I mean, I made another video about the reconstruction fund that JD Vance says there's a lot of interest in the Arab world in investing in Iran. Look, there is not. They're horrified by this whole thing. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Just so you get a look into how this is being received in the Arab world, especially in Lebanon. Now, I don't know where this is going, but the Trump administration has got to wake up to the Lebanon situation, especially the minorities in Lebanon and in Syria over the course, ever since the Assad regime fell and Trump embraced this al-Jilani guy, the Kurds, the Druze, the Christians, all over Lebanon, all over Syria, are just living in mortal fear right now, because in Syria, Trump has embraced al-Jilani, whose guys have been massacring all the minorities in Syria. And then in Lebanon, he's making Iran's compromise of Lebanese sovereignty official. He's agreeing to it. They're agreeing to have Iran have a say in what goes on in Lebanon, and tying Israel's hands to prevent them from getting rid of Hezbollah, when everyone knows that the only entity on the planet that can get rid of Hezbollah is the Israelis. And you see how upset the Lebanese are. Remember, they're never going to say outright, we want Israel in here fighting Hezbollah. They're not going to say that. Politically, they can't say that. But you saw in all of those messages I read, they're talking about they need to get rid of Hezbollah. They need to get rid of Hezbollah. These are realistic people, these political figures, these journalists. They know that the only way that can be done is to give Israel a free hand, let them rip off the Band-Aid and deal with it, and then Lebanon can have its sovereignty back. It's the only way it's going to happen. And the Trump administration's approach to Lebanon has been, is just, again, it is scaring the daylights out of the Christian community, especially, but out of the Lebanese, everyone in Lebanon who wants Lebanese sovereignty and who wants an end to the Iranian foreign influence and foreign control of their political system is absolutely horrified at what the Trump administration is doing right now. Please drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of this. Please share these videos. I really appreciate every one of you. I appreciate how fast the channel has grown. If you could just share this, any video you find interesting on this channel, if you could just pick one person out of your contacts that you share it with and tell them about the channel, let's help spread the word. It would really go a long way. And I think we're doing something very important here. So thank you for watching. God bless you all.